And boom, what's up everybody? Thanks for turning out for this. It's way later than I anticipated, and also I just kind of want to, address the fact that I haven't been here all that often over the past week. Been a little bit under the weather, and I don't want to do a stream if I can't, give you guys a certain level of professionalism or a certain level of quality. And I wasn't going to continue to just post out there, I don't know if I can or not tonight. And it was enough where I could just, put a good forward face out there when it comes to videos. And even still on the back end of stuff, obviously you guys won't be able to tell or anything like that. My video output, it was probably the lowest it's been in a while, mostly because the old body was also breaking down as well. I think it was like Saturday morning, I woke up, legitimately couldn't move. It was the fucking weirdest thing I'd ever experienced in my life up to that point. A little bit frightened, but hey man, everything, as you can see, looks like it's all fucking working out decently fine. Still a little bit under the weather, that's why it took so long. Just been in and out and moving around, so this isn't going to be the longest of live streams, but god, there was just so much fucking news that ended up dropping here today with the Tate stuff getting finalized-ish. I guess that's what we want to go with. The Hunter Biden just kind of getting swept out under the rug. So I've got a video to look at on that one. And then with the Trump situation, of course, that was going to take a lion's share of all the attention that's out there. But hey man, I also wanted to go down and, because I've been incredibly dissatisfied by a bunch of people running down the charges when it comes to the Trump situation. Somebody who I normally go to, they did a video on it on Sunday, or I guess it was a live stream on Sunday, and kind of used just about the shittiest source possible in order to break down the charges or what to expect to the defenses of it out there. So I just thought, fuck it man, we need to set the record straight on this stuff. So the way that it's going to break down is we're going to go Andrew Tate first and foremost, then we're going to do Hunter Biden, and then we'll end with Trump, because I got the video to watch on that one. I think that one would be, in fact, the most interesting. So as for the Tate one, it's actually just kind of cut and dry in this situation. Shout out to you guys for turning out, though. I see Meadows, I seen who else did I see in the back end over there? I don't have the chat pulled up or anything like that. I just wanted to get rolling on this so that we aren't terrifyingly late on any of this stuff. So I seen Meadows and Meme. I had the Rumble chat pulled up first and foremost, so I guess that was what I ended up seeing out there. Needs to switch over and all that stuff. There we go. See, I can be in the YouTube chat as well. Make sure everything's live. Are we live, pal? Yep, we're live. Alright, cool. Lord Stay Frosty, what's up, brother? Yeah, no, for sure. And mute my mic. Mute my mic whenever I want to. Anyways. But yeah, no, so first and foremost, okay, so this is from Mario Narfwal. Okay, Narfwal. He's been following the Tate situation. He's been kind of a Tate detractor, so it was very interesting to see his breakdown of this situation in the aftermath. And yeah, especially with, yes, the charges after a 15-month-long investigation ends up dropping today, coincidentally, with Biden and Hunter at the same, obviously, but with Hunter and with the Trump stuff. I know two different countries, but it's also, you take a look once, or on the same day that the Tates ended up being snatched up on the 29th of December, you got some juicy details that also got released about Jeffrey Epstein and a couple of high-ranking individuals as well. So the moment that you put in anything about human trafficking or rape, what would be the first thing that comes up? Oh, Andrew Tate. And with everything that Hunter Biden is actually involved in, what's the first thing that you do? Human trafficking and rape, and what ends up coming up? Andrew and Tristan Tate. Wow, big fucking shock on all this stuff, right? So Mario's breakdown of this to begin with. The charges against them include rape, human trafficking, formation of an organized crime group. So all of that scuttlebutt about them ended up, a couple of charges ended up getting knocked off last week. And they're like, nah, in Romania, we'll just go ahead and go with the entire litany. And I've seen Tristan tweet out that it's actually a good thing, because now they can take a look at the evidence against them. And if you took a look at, I think that was the video last week I ended up doing when I had a former friend of one of the accusers, Emma Gabby, reach out to me for whatever fucking reason, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. So now I can put that information out there, and you can see that she's total fucking cap, because it seems to believe, because she's the Miami girl, and she's the one that is accusing Andrew of rape in this situation for stupid fucking reasons. Like, it's interesting, but yeah, if you want more on that, did that video last week. The allegations claim that Tate formed a organized criminal group in Romania, the United States, and the UK and other countries to recruit girls by promising them love and marriage, and placing them under constant surveillance, control, and forcing them into the porn industry. So what they're trying to get at with that, organized criminal group from all across the world in order to traffic girls to a cam studio that was closed down 4 years ago. All right. The trial will not start immediately and is expected to take several years. So yeah, as I've seen right now, because, okay, cool. Everybody and their mother, including Steven Crowder, who I heard opine on this situation first thing in the morning, went with that. That was the original arrest video from, December 29th, saying that, oh no, that's what happened earlier today. As far as I know, as far as I can tell, and as far as anybody else who's close to the situation knows, the brothers are still, they haven't been brought into custody or anything like that. So, very interesting development that you have here. So, his thoughts. Tate was arrested days before the scheduled interview we had in Dubai. Oh, he was going to go talk with him. Interesting. We did a space as soon as he was arrested, and the consensus by most panelists was that they are most likely guilty. Mario was definitely pushing that at the time. However, over the past few months, while the Tates were being held without bail, we started seeing all the evidence getting leaked. I will make a thread on this one day, but to say the evidence is underwhelming is an understatement. Well, if you'd like all of that evidence right now, I've got a handy-dandy playlist on YouTube that you can go and watch right now that has every fucking development on it. And also, you know, if you want something with a little bit higher production value, Fresh and Fit have done an excellent, Myron specifically, has done an excellent job cataloging everything with a lot of first-hand information as well. I've parroted a lot of the stuff that they broke, as well as other stuff that has been broken on Twitter by Suleiman Aman and the Censored Man. Those are the two big sources that's out there. On June 29th, Tristan announced that he would be allowed to discuss the evidence against him. Yes, that was the end of the 180-day holding period where they'd have to shit or get off the pot. The Romanian authorities we're talking about right here. So, funnily enough, 9 days out from the end of their investigation period, yeah, we're going to pursue charges on the evidence that I guess we have, because fuck it, we have to save face one point or another. So, yeah. Skip this anyways. However, over the past few months, while the Tates were being held without bail, we started seeing all the evidence getting leaked. Make a thread on this one day. Evidence is underwhelming is an understatement. It doesn't mean that there isn't evidence. I haven't seen any. Yeah, but suffice to say, I don't trust the Romanian legal system. My position is simple. If the allegations are true, they should be jailed. If the allegations are false, they should be freed. Very nuanced position, but yeah, exactly. That's what pretty much everybody thinks, okay? Everybody who's reasonable. Like, I'm a Tate fan, Tate supporter, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I think that they have an incredibly good message. They've been purposefully and widely misunderstood on a grand scheme, the likes of which we haven't seen since somebody else we're going to discuss later in this live stream as well. And yeah, once people actually listen to what Andrew and Tristan have to say, they come away with a much different opinion of the guys. So yeah, if they are in fact criminals, which kind of like how Joey Manarino kind of outlines here, it's kind of my thought process behind that, because everybody who's close to him, everybody who even has a glimpse into the inner workings of the Tate organizations, not to say that that's a organized criminal enterprise or anything like that, but everybody who's abreast of the situation just doesn't think that these charges make any sense at all whatsoever, because Andrew Tate is trending #1 for being arrested, but you know who else was charged today and isn't trending? Hunter Biden, whose laptop has pictures of kiddie porn on it, photographed having sex with underage prostitutes, whose crimes are protected against federal government because his father is president. Yeah, but that's all right. Joe came out later today and said, oh, I'm just proud of my son, man. And didn't answer any further questions on that. So don't worry, guys. The Hunter Biden situation totally fucking done. Yeah, no, it's all done. Justice has been served. Lying on a federal firearms background check is a felony that carries up to 10 years in prison, not for Hunter. So what? Oh, so is it clear yet? We're not playing in a fair game anymore. Any news we consume has been sanitized for our protection, or rather for the protection of the Democrat Party. Because, yep, Joe Biden, that empty suit who's more than willing to just shuffle, stumble, stammer his way through a press conference in order to progress the Democratic Party. It's just fine with everybody that's up there. Just pay no attention to the empty suit on stage who can't even form a coherent sentence. Everything's fine, guys. The system is working as intended. Because, fun fact, they don't need our votes to stay in power. They just have to use their state media to demonize us and make us unelectable by the masses. And you're seeing that over and over again for a multitude of people. If you become too big, too influential, well, guess what? You just become enemy number one from the media. But here's the tweet that I actually wanted to get, because that was going to be a good transition once we got over to Hunter Biden and all that stuff. Sorry, I need a drink of water here, but I also want to read this one out because this is a good summarization of my thoughts and many other people as well. Imagine actually believing Andrew Tate needs to rape someone. That was my premise with the Conor McGregor situation. That video got released, earlier today as well. It's like, he's one of the most recognizable faces in mixed martial arts. He's still in the prime of his life, maybe not of his fight career, but why would he have to rape some Miami 4? Like, that makes absolutely zero fucking sense. And then guess what? The rest of the video evidence comes out and it's like, oh no, she's totally fucking capping. Wow, in order to secure a bag. Big fucking shock on that one. Women have weaponized rape so much over the past few years. It's insane. What? Like Amber Heard, everybody caught up in Me Too. Bunch of other examples. Oh, yeah, famously, one that I cataloged very, very closely, the Trevor Bauer situation. Oh, look at all those girls. They come forward with such terrific stories. Can you corroborate any of those stories? Actually, you can provide exculpatory evidence to prove that Trevor Bauer didn't do anything untowards, anything that those bitches didn't ask for, which would later be weaponized against him. Shocking on that one. They've even weaponized false accusations of domestic abuse. See my previous example. There needs to be some sort of punishment for the women who falsely accuse this stuff. I think everybody who's opined on this topic is fairly well settled on the idea that, whatever these chicks knowingly, and if there's proof, okay, I don't want to be, disproportionately handing out any sort of punishments to chicks where it's like some of the information is murky, maybe some of the evidence isn't necessarily provable. It's not a gamble if you come in and it's like you were actually raped, but the evidence doesn't really line up or a jury doesn't fall in your favor. Who knows? There's a bunch of extra circumstances on top of that. That's fine. But if these chicks are knowingly fucking lying, like the Conor McGregor situation, the Trevor Bauer situation, the Andrew Tate situation, whatever they're accusing the other person of, that's the punishment that should befall them. That's pretty much what everybody's going on at this point in time. I think that is totally fucking fair, but it'd be going against the thoughts and the benefits of women, so that'll obviously never fucking happen. They ruin men's lives because of jealousy, fame, or other reasons. The legal fees, reputational damage, and more. Because, Conor McGregor, he's going to be called a rapist till the end of time. The Tate brothers, they're going to be human traffickers and rapists as well. Trevor Bauer may never work in Major League Baseball ever again. Why? Because bitches be mad. These men who are accused lose their jobs, could be thrown out of colleges, and much more, only if it comes out that the woman is just mad she left him for another woman or something of this nature. That also brings to mind, you guys might remember Mattress Girl from way back in the day. She's one of the original OG Me Too's. Okay, that was out there saying that, she was raped and now she was going to get her and some simp to carry a mattress around, at campus. I forget exactly what it was. Me might remember specifically. I don't think it was UVA, but something like that. University campus or something like that. And then it came out that, guess what? Bitch was capping. And then now all of a sudden I think the last time that I seen that bitch was out there on the men's right advocacy stump because, she just got right with, the legal system is weaponized against men. It's a grift all the fucking way down. Unbelievable. You know about it when it happens to Tate and he has the money to fight it, but most men don't. Yeah, exactly. You hear about the more notable examples, and those guys, yeah, they can kind of weather the storm a little bit. Like, they got a long enough time frame, and even if they aren't allowed to come back to their chosen vocation, they kind of got a golden parachute at it. But, you know, if it's anybody who's watching this shit right now, and then all of a sudden you guys end up popping off, or you end up on an upward trajectory, some bitch from way back in the day can all of a sudden go, well, actually, I don't necessarily think that was all that, it wasn't that consensual, actually. Or you could just be like E. Jean Carroll and totally fucking make up a story about Trump and then, yeah, end up costing them like $5 million. It's unfucking believable. This gives a genuine issue this is a genuine issue that needs fixing. We need to make a law that gives the women the same punishment the man would have gotten if she's found to be lying. Exactly. And yeah, if it's provable that she's lying, concocting a story like saying, oh, I don't know, corroborating with another chick that's around there saying that, oh, if we sell our story to like Amazon, Hulu, or Netflix, just think of all the money that we would make on this story, because it's a fantastical story. It's a provably false story, but it would make for a good drama. Who could possibly ever come up with that sort of nefarious idea? Truly does escape me. So that's the Tate situation as it stands right now. And now we can move on to Hunter Biden. But I just want to check in with the chat and then also take a drink of water because you boys kind of dying underneath here. I'm dying over here. Thanks for turning out, everybody, though. I really do appreciate it on, super short notice. But hopefully everybody's having a good week so far. And we should be back on schedule Saturday. Because today, outside of all of the legal news that dropped, there's that Trump and Brett Baier interview on Fox News that I kind of wanted to watch through, but the second half of that apparently drops tonight on Fox News, so we wouldn't have even been able to watch all of it together. So probably saving that for Saturday. And then I also seen just a kind of a couple of fun videos that we can react to when we do a Rumble exclusive stream. Everything is still tentative, but we should be down. We should be back on schedule. That's what I'm thinking here. Manu, good to see you, buddy. And Steve McGee. Names kind of looks familiar, but shout out to you guys for turning out for this one. I do appreciate that one for sure. See what we got over here on the Rumble. Make sure everything's all good to go. Oh, good turnout on Rumble, actually. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. George, what's up, buddy? Good to see you in here. No, it's good to see everybody in here as well. And I do appreciate it. But on to chapter 2. Of this, and this involves our good pal Hunter. Okay, so he was hit with 3 federal charges earlier today. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say hit? He pled out to lesser charges, and guess what he's going to end up getting at the end of this? Oh, it's so fun. It's so great. So 2 misdemeanors for willingly failing to pay federal income taxes. So he knowingly didn't pay his taxes, and then he could just go out there and plead out to a misdemeanor. Interesting. Not 1, but 2. Oh, okay, cool. So he's going to get a little fine. So he didn't pay money to the government, so his punishment is having to pay money to the government. Okay, that makes sense. And then 1, okay, so this is the felony. That's out there. The 1 unlawful firearms possessions charge. So that's what Joey was pointing out here. Lying on a federal firearm background check and a felony that carries up to 10 years in prison. So knowingly lying on his purchasing forms, okay, about purchasing a firearm. You can't be an addict, which obviously, thanks to the laptop, kind of proves that he has a sketchy past when it comes to controlled substances. And then also, compound the lying on the federal document, also the disposal of the firearm in a dumpster across the street from an elementary school. That's not being hyperbolic. That's exactly what happens. He's entering a pretrial agreement for the firearms charge. It is pleading guilty to tax charges, which will likely see no jail time. No, yeah, that's exactly what ended up happening. This is an attempt by the DOJ to try and create the illusion that the justice system is fair in the wake of the Trump indictment. Absolutely, man. Oh, see, we take everything so seriously over here. We definitely do, guys. Trust us, because, hey, nobody's above the law. including the president's son, which, guess what? He ends up getting probation for that felony charge. Unlawful firearms possession. How many people are in prison right now? Even by the bail reform types say that, well, somebody's in there on a trumped up gun charge. Oh, they didn't know that they had it, but then they end up spending years behind bars. Hunter Biden right there just copped a plea to it, and he's going to end up getting probation and time served. Unfucking believable. But yeah, as Robert Barnes points out, which shout out to him, definitely, when it comes to legal matters, that's the top G right there. As a criminal tax lawyer for nearly a quarter century, yeah, he was the guy who helped keep Wesley Snipes out of jail. In case you're not familiar with who Robert Barnes is, he's probably one of the best tax attorneys that's out there, and also a constitutional lawyer. So he knows his shit. He's a Rolodex of information. Okay, and we'll be coming back to something that he said in a little while. As a criminal tax lawyer for nearly a quarter century, I can confirm how rare and extraordinary the Hunter Biden plea deal is. Indeed, the deal violates DOJ tax official policy. Policy, more like guidelines, really, where Biden's DOJ prohibit prosecutors from even offering this deal to people who did far less than Hunter. Yeah, but do any of those people have the surname Biden? No, didn't think so, but interestingly enough, earlier today, right after all that news dropped, Tucker Carlson decided to drop a video. Oh, okay. And as in most of the developing world, it's safer to be the president's son than his opponent. He does a wonderful compare and contrast here. I listened to a little bit of it, and I just thought, fuck it, we might as well just save this for the stream right here. So the 5th episode of Tucker Carlson, reported on a couple of them that ended up dropping in this one right here. She's doing numbers right now, 6.9, nice, million views, and everybody's taking a look at it, so I just thought, fuck it, man, we're in for this one for true. So I got it sped up just a little bit, and I don't know why it went to black or anything like that, but we're going to be listening to that. I'll monitor the levels and all that shit, and we'll stop for a little bit of reaction here, but I think she'll be pretty much clear sailing. Let me know in the chat, because I'll be able to take a look at the chat here. If this is too fast, if the sound's down or anything like that, let me know, huh?
Carlson, this spring, word began to circulate in Washington that the House Oversight Committee, under its new chairman, Congressman Jamie Comer, had discovered criminal behavior after reviewing thousands of pages of the Biden family's bank records. Now, publicly, to the extent they responded at all, the White House dismissed the investigation as, of course, politically motivated. In any case, irrelevant. Hunter Biden was an adult, so his business dealings had nothing at all to do with his father, in this case, the President of the United States. But in private, everybody understood it wasn't quite that simple. There has long been overwhelming evidence that Joe and Hunter Biden's financial lives are not separate at all, but deeply intertwined. On Hunter Biden's laptop, there's a suggestion that the two of them even at one point shared a bank account. And of course, Hunter Biden wrote himself that he kicked back cash from his foreign business deals to his father. He wrote that bitterly. So the Oversight Committee's investigation was potentially a disaster for the White House, a scandal, possibly even the prelude to criminal charges. So in order to get ahead of all of that, Joe Biden's handlers did the one thing they could do. They set up an MSNBC interview to preemptively whitewash whatever Jamie Comer might find. Here's the results of that. This aired on May 5th.
Sir, there is something personal that's affecting you. Your son, while there's no ties.
Interesting. I didn't see this at all, which is very interesting. Very interesting. The fact that the sitting president can go out for an interview and nobody hear about it.
To you could be.
I guess that also could be just MSNBC as well.
Charged by your Department of Justice. How will that impact your presidency?
First of all, my son's done nothing wrong. I trust him. I have faith in him, and it impacts my.
He's done nothing wrong. He just pled on 3 separate counts, but he did nothing wrong, right?
Presidency by making me feel proud of him.
Okay, time for the master class for free. You can audit it. Here it goes. Sir, showing appropriate respect, says the shill, there is something personal that's affecting you. Note the wording. Personal, not of public concern. Nothing law enforcement might be interested in, but personal, a sad family tragedy. That's the framing. And then this, a sentence choreographed to the letter. Your son, while there's no ties to you, could be charged by your Department of Justice. Got that? Well, there's no tie to you. So the answer is, in fact, in the question. Whatever Hunter Biden goes down for, and we know he is going to be charged because MSNBC said so, but when that happens, that's Hunter's problem. It's got nothing to do with Joe Biden. Rest easy, America. 5 days later, the Oversight Committee released its findings, and they were, in fact, devastating. Quote, bank records show the Biden family, their business associates, and their companies, their many companies, received over $10 million from foreign nationals and their related companies, the committee wrote.
And that poor whistleblower ended up risking his neck for absolutely nothing. Oh, well, who could have possibly seen that happening?
Investigators had, quote, identified payments to Biden family members from foreign companies while Joe Biden served as vice president and after he left public office. So actually there was something there. It was a scandal. Racketeering, money laundering, wire fraud, those are some of the crimes that Biden seemed to have committed, in addition, of course, to selling out the United States for cash. So what would happen to them? Well, Donald Trump had an idea, quote, they'll hit Hunter with something small to make their strike on me look fair. Trump wrote that about 2 weeks ago, and it turned out those were prescient words.
Ta-da, guess what? Oh, what's that old saying? Oh, Trump was right.
This morning, Hunter Biden pleaded guilty to pretty much nothing. Biden pled to 2 misdemeanor tax evasion charges, then entered a diversion on a federal gun charge. That's it.
Yeah, diversion, that means right there. Yeah, I did it, but you don't have to put me in jail, right? And they're like, yeah, no, that's cool.
As far as Merrick Garland's Justice Department is concerned, Hunter Biden is done.
Yeah.
There was no pre-dawn raid carried live simultaneously on CNN. There was no perp walk, no handcuffs, no press conference. Above all, there was no felony. Hunter Biden, who broke federal gun laws, can still carry a gun. It's like it all never happened. In fact,
Yo, the fucking crackhead. A fucking crackhead who has a total disregard for firearms, led by probably one of the biggest, gun hawk presidents ever. You can still purchase a firearm. Unfucking believable.
the Justice Department just baptized Hunter Biden. A lifetime of sins washed away in an instant. It was a secular miracle. Most miraculous of all, Hunter Biden somehow escaped a FARA charge. FARA is the Foreign Agent Registration Act, and it is exactly what its name suggests. Under federal law, if you are acting as an agent of a foreign nation in Washington, you are required to register with our government to let everybody know. Well, for decades, pretty much nobody in Washington did register under FARA, and precisely no one was ever prosecuted for it. No one. But starting several years ago, the Justice Department began sending people to prison on FARA violations. The official explanation was, we're cracking down on foreign influence in Washington. And of course, privately, everyone in Washington laughed. They knew that was absurd. In fact, it's the opposite of the truth. Foreign powers have never had more power in Washington. Their agents are everywhere, in every federal agency.
Yeah, ask Eric Swalwell.
And throughout business, down to and including in executive positions at various social media companies. The Biden administration knows all of this, and it's not a problem. In fact, it's their policy. From the administration's perspective, the concerns and the demands of, say, the Chinese government, or particularly the Ukrainian government, are far more important than the needs of American voters. We're cracking down on foreign influence. Please. The point, the only point of enforcing FARA, after decades of ignoring it, is to harass and imprison high-profile political opponents. Trump donor Elliot Brody pled to a FARA violation a few years ago. So did Trump campaign manager, famously Paul Manafort. He went to prison. Last year, the DOJ went after Trump confidant Steve Wynn under FARA. But in the end, the Biden administration overreached so comically that the whole thing was thrown out by a judge. But they tried. So as long as they're trying, if it was a fair system, Hunter Biden would be first on the list of those next to be charged with a FARA violation. In fact, many of them. Hunter Biden was a foreign agent. He never registered as one. But for years, that's exactly what he was. He sold access to his father and other lawmakers to the Chinese and the Ukrainians and countries throughout the world. There's no debate about that. The FBI has known about it for years. For years, they've had possession of Hunter Biden's laptop. But they didn't charge him for it today. They never will.
Oh no, that investigation's still open, like it has been since 2019.
Why? Well, you know the answer. Hunter Biden has good genes. A more interesting question, though, which is another question the feds will never consider, is what does Hunter Biden do for a living now? This is a man with no obvious job and, of course, zero skills. He spent midlife smoking crack. Yet somehow he's managed to live pretty well despite rising inflation. He's been living in big houses in the costliest residential neighborhoods in the world. He's been paying a stripper baby mama 20 grand a month in child support. And he has retained a team of the most expensive lawyers in the country who spend quite a bit of time sending threatening letters to anyone who asks questions.
Yo, okay, I haven't, not since James Dean has somebody taken more pictures of themselves smoking cigarettes.
About how they're being paid. We can confirm that firsthand. So again, what does Hunter Biden do for work? That's a fair question. And tonight we have the answer. For years, Hunter Biden was an influence peddler. Now Hunter Biden is a self-actualizer. He self-actualizes for a living. He gets in touch with
He manifests it, girl.
himself, his feelings, and he follows his muse. Here he is explaining his new vocation in a 2019 ABC News interview.
This is new.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
All right.
But now he's opening the doors to a place
money
never captured
laundering.
by a paparazzi's lens. His refuge, an art studio where he finds solace in painting. What's the goal eventually?
I had to sell this piece of shit for like $750,000.
No goal. That's the perfect part about it. It's just it literally keeps me sane.
His refuge, far from the paparazzi's lens. In other words, we're not the paparazzi, we're ABC News. What's the goal of this? Your refuge. There's no goal, he says, grinning with those fake teeth. It just keeps me sane.
Old
but actually, there was a
porcelain
goal.
mouth.
And if you didn't know what a virtuous person Hunter Biden was, you might think it looked a lot like money laundering. 2 years after that interview, Hunter Biden was selling prints of his art. And to be clear, just the prints, not the, quote, art itself, but effectively photocopies of it for $75,000 a pop. Apparently,
Yeah, if I sign this stuff and eventually one day I get like super famous or something like that, I can sell all of those prints and oh boy, I could just, make away with quite a bit. But unfortunately, my surname has never been attached to a president or a prime minister. Sucks to suck, I guess.
Hunter Biden moved 5 of these repros in just
Better
days.
start smoking
That's
crack, right?
$375,000 in less than a week for signing copies of your fake art.
Oh, no.
As for the paintings themselves, childish self-indulgent blots, those sold for $500,000 apiece. So the question is, who bought them and why? It'd be interesting to know. There's a story there for sure, but of course we have no right to know. There's no public policy implication. It's not like Hunter Biden's finances have anything to do with his father's finances.
Oh.
Meanwhile, once his father did become president, corporate publisher Simon & Schuster lined up as well to pay Hunter Biden's bills. According to news reports, Simon & Schuster gave Hunter Biden millions of dollars for his highly selective account of his wholly unaccomplished life. And then the publisher lined up brainless celebrity endorsers like Dave Eggers and Stephen King to promote it.
Oh.
King, who apparently will say anything if it helps the party, called Hunter Biden's silly manuscript a, quote, harrowing and compulsively readable memoir. And then Stephen King described Hunter Biden himself as beautiful.
Is it better or worse than Maximum Overdrive? That's what we want to know, Steve.
Needless to say, the book sold miserably, but Hunter Biden got to keep the millions, and that was
Kind of like Ron DeSantis' book. Funny story about that one, but...
the point. And so on. This kind of thing apparently happened a lot. Again, there seems to be a story here, and we think it's probably worth learning a lot more about it and bringing it to you. In the coming weeks, we will. In the meantime, though, the question is, what can we learn from Hunter Biden's plea deal today? First off, the obvious. For the children of the people in charge, there are no penalties. There are only upsides. They're princelings. They can do what they want. You are not. Therefore, you can't. So don't get any ideas about cheating on your taxes or violating federal gun laws unless you want to celebrate next year's Father's Day through the glass in the visitor's room. The rules definitely apply to you, including rules you don't yet know exist. But there's also a deeper lesson here, a more disturbing one. What we're watching through Hunter Biden's life and through the Biden administration, now entering its third year, is the total inversion of virtue. What was once considered admirable is now derided as stupid, if not racist. That would include achievement, intelligence, honesty, self-control.
Well, actually, yeah, it's been replaced, and it's so nice that even at the press secretary position, we can now have historic figures. Trust us, you can just ask her herself. That's what she called herself. Oh my lord, that gay black lady, that's the only reason that she's historic. I'm the first. It's like, just shut the fuck up. You can barely do your job.
Humility. Those are features of the old America. Those were yesterday's virtues. They are gone. In their place, all that we once considered contemptible and repulsive, we're told to worship that now. Here's a small example, but we think a revealing one. In addition to his many other sins, Joe Biden has hired what has to be the single dumbest, nastiest, most dishonest, most ridiculous person he could possibly find for the very public position of White House press secretary.
Oh, fuck.
There's a point to it, of course. It was a humiliation
We're on similar wavelengths, I guess.
exercise. It was designed to degrade the country and dispirit the rest of us. That's the White House press secretary? Shut up! But here's the thing. The White House press secretary herself has no idea why she's in the job. She thinks she's amazing. Here she is in a clip we just saw.
A year in this role, there's been a couple of things that has made me incredibly
I think this is the very clip that I referenced.
proud. Many things that made me incredibly proud to be at that podium during this historic moment. Again, this is a historic administration. I'm a historic figure, and I certainly walk in history every day.
Yeah.
I'm a historic figure. Imagine
Oh, rhymes with figure.
saying that. I'm a historic figure, but she does. And she says it in a burst of sincere self-congratulation, marked by her signature bad grammar. Illiterate, but proud. Of course she's proud. Karine Jean-Pierre is now a historic figure, just like Hunter Biden is now an important artist.
Oof.
It makes you feel stupid for going to work.
Oh, man. Yo, very good. Very succinct. Contrast between the Trump situation and the Hunter Biden situation, because we all know that would be totally fucking cap anyways. Like, come on, man. Anybody think that anything would end up coming of this? Because this centered on the trial. I think it was federally happening. It was also happening in Delaware, which, big shock on that one. But, yeah, there was never going to be any resolution. None at all whatsoever. Nothing that would be at least perceived as being just or fair. Why would it be? Why would it have to be? Everybody already knows what time it is when it comes to the Biden family. So just, hey, take your shit and shut the fuck up. That's all they want from you at this point in time. So moving on to the main event, we got the Trump situation. Okay, the Trump federal case is going to start, apparently, August 14th. What also happens in August? Oh, the first round of GOP presidential debates. The primary debates are supposed to kick off in August. No specific date or anything like that, which is kind of weird from the GOP side anyways, where it's like, oh, okay, cool. You didn't want to go ahead and put down a date or earmark anything that's on there, but then all of a sudden, oh, Trump's just going to end up having to appear in court right smack dab in the middle of August. When do you think those debates are going to take place? Middle or late August, somewhere in on and around that area. So Trump either gets to deliberately miss the debates, which he said he was going to miss the first one, or, hey, be caught up and have to bounce to and fro between the proceedings and then didn't end in the debates, because the debates are, I think they're in Wisconsin. And this case, regardless, is going to be held in Miami as well. So we'll just give a little bit of the background on this before we get to the charges. So U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon has set an initial trial date for August 14th in Florida on former President Donald Trump's federal charges of willful retention of classified records and obstruction of justice, according to the court on Tuesday. The Justice Department Special Counsel in the case, Jack Smith, promised a speedy trial after a 37-count indictment charging Trump with willfully retaining classified government records and obstructing justice. Yes, was that last week or the week before? We ended up getting the full indictment unsealed, and I know a lot of people have read through it as well, and a lot of people are questioning it, going, shit's not going to stick. It's not going to stick at all. And I know a lot of people, yes, have broken it down and taken a look. And, well, one of those people that I was looking forward to hearing from was Myron from Fresh and Fit. He runs the Fed Reacts channel. I was going to call it under its old name, under its dead name. But no, the old Fed It channel where, okay, yeah, he was going to break down the Trump situation. And as a former Fed, being able to take a look at these indictments and parsing everything out, I was looking forward to his analysis. And then the video that he chose to use as a point of reference was it was authored by one of the most famous terminal cases of TDS imaginable, whatever. Fucking Legal Eagle. Oh my God, that guy's the fucking worst. He barely gets the facts right. He barely gets the fucking law right. He will never, ever, ever take a fair and unbalanced opinion when it comes to anything regarding the Orange Man, because the Orange Man is bad, and we will paint you in any corner that we possibly can. He's the guy who believed the piss tape, believed impeachment number 1, impeachment number 2, the walls are closing in. So to hear Myron use him as an example and say that we got a good video from Legal Eagle coming out, and I'm like, oh my fucking God. So I think that, of course, I think that there's somebody who does it better. Somebody that we've heard from a little bit earlier in this live stream as well. And that would be Mr. Robert Barnes with a fucking fiery 50-minute long rant. And obviously, I'm not going to watch the entire rant unless everything gets, unless it gets adequately spicy enough. But I also got this turned up in speed as well. I listened to a good chunk of this earlier today, and I thought that, this is going to be perfect for us to at least listen to and add additional commentary. But like I said before, Barnes is a fire hose of information, and this is definitely going to be a good way for you, if you're ever discussing this case, by the time that it hits trial or anything like that, you're going to be able to know the arguments for the Trump side, and then also understand the indictment from a guy who worked with the Trump campaign in some capacity and is also an excellent resource and has also done cases like this before. So without further ado, the main event of the evening, folks.
Robert, I can feel everyone eagerly waiting with anticipation.
Why did somebody big get indicted this week?
I don't know. Not just another indictment. Twice impeached, twice acquitted, now twice indicted. But this one, Robert, they have him dead to rights. Because the other one was just a state indictment on bogus George Soros, Alvin Bragg motivated district attorney bull crap. Everyone said it's bull crap from beginning to end, even though he'll still get convicted on that, given what politics is. This is federal indictment, Robert. We now have the first former president ever federally indicted. And the indictment, they've got him this time, Robert. I mean, even Jonathan Turley, and I'm not making fun of Jonathan Turley because I do respect what he has to say, which is why I was reading his assessment with great interest, says, this is not something to laugh at. He wasn't, falling off the chair sobbing. He said, this is not something to laugh at. The allegations in here, to the extent that they are proven to be true.
And of course, what you're always going to be getting from an indictment is the best case that the state can put forward. So that's why I take a look at an indictment or any sort of, legal letter from either side, understand who's submitting it, and realize that it's kind of like a he said, she said argument, and then it's depending on who ends up authoring the article, you can kind of figure out, who's going to end up getting slanted, who's going to end up being, who's going to be presented in the best light. And just like the old saying goes, there's 3 sides to every story, yours, mine, and the truth. And somewhere in between, we're going to end up finding out what actually happened, or at least the best approximation, because there's not going to be any cameras inside this trial room. That's because it's a federal case, so we're just going to have to go off of secondhand information. But apparently Viva says that he's right now living close to the courthouse, or at least, reasonably close enough so he might be able to go down close and go into the courtroom. But boy, that's going to be it. That's going to be a hot ticket down there in South Beach.
Look pretty bad. You got some very, very compromising photographic evidence of boxes of documentation. We don't know what's in it, but we're told that there's classified documents in it. I don't know, nuclear stuff. They drop all sorts of words, but we've seen photographs of boxes of allegedly classified information, or containing some, in ballrooms at his Mar-a-Lago place, in bathrooms. So we've got what is purported to contain classified information, seemingly not kept in a secured location. That's one of the allegations of the federal indictment. The other damning allegation of the federal indictment is that Trump was looking like he's going to play smart. Do we have to play ball, knowing that he's, under investigation, knowing that they're asking about these documents, trying to facilitate getting the documents back? He said internally, do I need to play ball? This is evidence of wrongdoing. What I think is the most problematic allegation, or a series of allegations, is that Trump, while he's being recorded, meeting with a reporter, basically says to the reporter, here, have a look at this documentation. It's all classified. It's private. It's confidential. I could have declassified it when I was president. I didn't, and now you know that I can't. But have a look at it anyhow. And then you have one of his aides, seemingly saying, we're in trouble now type thing. Trump says, look, they tried to trick me. We're going to get to what the information was. But Trump is basically saying to a reporter, I know this is classified. I could have declassified it when I had the opportunity. I didn't. Here, have a look at it, thus violating the law, although I'm not sure that he's charged with unlawful disclosure of that information to the journalist. You'll help me there. Third one was the plucking noise, Robert. Apparently, his lawyers have turned on him, which is very bad. His lawyers have provided, I guess...
Yeah, it sounds like a Fifth Amendment whatever the amendment for counsel is. Sixth Amendment violation. There we go.
Their notes from meetings, one of which, or the one most damning as far as I'm concerned from reading the indictment, was Trump, without saying anything, when confronted with the fact that they had folders that might have contained classified information that he was supposed to return, when asked what to do, Trump made a plucking noise, apparently suggesting to his attorneys, remove the documents that are that I'm not supposed to have, but I still have, because it would be incriminating, thus admitting...
Sir, you're not allowed to make noises with your mouth. To jail. You got to go to jail for that. Like, fucking Christ, man.
Incriminating withholding of documents. So, Robert, I guess the most important to me is him seemingly declaring the actus reus, the knowledge of that what he was doing was unlawful when he showed this reporter something. Break it down. I watched your analysis on Bourbon with Barnes on vivabarneslaw.locals.com, but that was before the indictment had come out with the details, fleshing it out. I know what I think, and just so everybody knows what I think. I'm starting off on the premise that they are lying yet again. This is like Russiagate, Steele dossier, January 6th, impeachment 1, impeachment 2. I'm starting off, for right or for wrong, that they're lying. Yep. So what are they omitting in this indictment that would be exculpatory? What are Trump's not just legal defenses, but factual defenses to these otherwise damning allegations? I think I've done a good job summarizing it, Robert. Let me know if I missed anything, but what is your take and what is your interpretation?
Yeah, so basically Viva's going to play devil's advocate a couple of different times to Robert there, but yeah, just brace for the fire hose of information.
The fundamental flaw of Turley's analysis, Sean Trende made a similar kind of analysis where he said it was okay that Hillary Clinton walked, but it was okay to prosecute Trump. How Sean Trende at Real Clear Politics pretends to be anything other than a Trump hater now. He's been caught lying repeatedly about Trump. Tom Bevan at Real Clear Politics should reassess who he has there. It's
kind of like Dave Rubin, most of the Blaze guys, all of Daily Wire. We're all for Trump in 2020, but actually this whole Ron DeSantis thing, that's the winning ticket out there. He's just like Trump without all of the baggage. Fuck off.
He's an old friend of mine, but he's gone full TDS for a while, and ever since he went up to Ohio State. There's one core problem with all of these claims. This is the elected president of the United States. He determines if a document's classified or not. Mm-hmm. He determines a document is secret or not. He determines whether it's a government document or not. Congress can't do that. Justice Department can't do that. The intelligence community can't do that. This is an indictment saying Donald Trump used his own documents, kept his own documents, liked his own documents, and didn't want to give his own documents back. That's his constitutional right. So the problem with this case is the entire case is bogus. Instead, this is an attempt of the deep state to overturn our constitutional democracy, to say that they can tell the world when their secrets get to be disclosed. That's what this case was premised on. Donald Trump rebutting the lies of General Milley, who lied to Bob Woodward, who claimed that he had stopped Trump from waging war in Iran, when it was actually Trump that stopped Milley from waging war in Iran. Now here Milley is, by the admission of the indictment, leaking actual information that he was not entitled to disclose, that he was not entitled to declassify, that he was not entitled to declare a personal record, that is subject to national security information laws, because he is a lesser official subject to those laws. And yet there has been no indictment, not even investigation of Milley, and he's still in legal office today with Republicans in Congress doing jack about it. By contrast, the president, who is vested by the second article of the United States Constitution with all executive power. That means the president decides any information that comes in is classified for his benefit and his alone. It is only secret for his benefit and his alone. It is only national security information for his benefit and his alone. He can unilaterally...
What's up, Longreach?
literally declare anything declassified, not national security, a personal record, anytime he wants. The mere act of taking the documents with him, and let's remember, he's not taking original source documents. All of those exist because, as has been pointed out by members of Congress on a range of places, these are all digital documents, so they're digitally stored. So this is only about the president having rights to his documents as a matter of constitutional law. These are all his documents. The Presidential Records Act merely reflects that. I mean, I had these people saying, oh, he can't do this. Congress says otherwise with the national security. Imagine if Congress passed a law tomorrow that said, we hereby declare that if the president executes any of his second article duties, that is hereby a crime and goes to prison. That would be patently unconstitutional. They have no authority to limit the executive branch under Article 2. They are given zero executive enforcement powers. The unelected bureaucracy is given zero constitutional powers. They only have any powers at all because the president gave it to them. So consequently, the entire charge is nonsense. All the alleged crimes are gibberish. They are a direct attack on constitutional government in America.
Yeah, but he framed pictures of Time magazine with his face on it. You don't understand how serious that is.
It is an attempt to say, we, the deep state, get to tell you what is and isn't a secret. We, the deep state, get to tell you what is and isn't classified. We, the deep state, get to tell you what is and isn't national security information. And even your elected president can't tell you our secrets or he goes to prison. That is how dangerous this criminal prosecution is. This goes way past Trump. This is the deep state war on democracy, such that if this crime is upheld, we don't have a constitutional democracy anymore. We have a deep state-run government that has killed the Constitution in America.
Robert, I'm going to push back, not push back, but rather just ask the questions that I know someone who believes in this would ask you. And I should just say also for the crowd.
That would also make for a very compelling opening argument. Just saying. Make sure that best quality is out there. Oh, no. Doesn't look like it. Oh, no. God damn it.
I'm just...
Here we go. 720. Oh, my God. What fucking peasant view is this? Oh, well.
Summarizing the indictment, I know there is some debate, not from the indictment itself, but just as a matter of fact, as to what recordings they have, what document Trump showed the reporter. It's not even definitively known as a disputed matter of fact, but, when you're looking at an indictment, you read the allegations as allegations.
Yeah, and of course, Trump he's often known to be just a little bit of a white liar. He likes to be a tad bit hyperbolic. So if he's talking to somebody that he thinks is important and thinks that it would really show out well for him to go, yes, this is classified documents. Okay, I only show these to very important people. A lot of people tell me that you're a very important person, so I thought that you'd really enjoy it. Take a look at some of my classified documents. I would have declassified them, but I took them with me and I declassified everything. But these could be, but they were at one point. But they aren't anymore. But I could have. So that's kind of you make this historic indictment on the first former president in the United States and the leading presidential rival that's on everybody's polls, and you do that on just a bunch of hearsay. Interesting.
Robert, some will say that Trump knows that there is a declassification process. For those who are listening, I'm putting it in quotes. There is actually no procedural, lawful, legally set out method, procedure for declassification. That is correct?
Well, two different things. Oh,
excuse me. Yeah. You can just basically point and go declassified. Oh, that one over. Oh, that's top secret? Well, guess what? Top secret declassification. Boop. Got you.
Declassification laws, all the national security information laws, all the Presidential Records Act laws clarified, is that all these laws are about everybody except the president. Because constitutionally, they cannot limit the president. Imagine being... you have your own company, and you're the sole owner of your company, and you write a set of rules for your employees, and then you don't live by those rules. So what? Right? Like, let's say I write rules that say, before you write a brief, do these 5 things. And then I write a brief that doesn't do those 5 things. Does that make me what I've done, illegal somehow? No, because the source of the rules are me. So the point is that the president can't be governed or limited by any of these rules, nor is this new. So the second issue that comes up with this, that most people look at the statute, I'm saying the statute reflects the Article 2. That's what this is all about, fundamentally. Who has the power under Article 2? The elected president of the United States or the unelected deep state? Jack Smith said the unelected deep state. He, in fact, who did he thank? He didn't thank the American people. He thanked the men and women of the intelligence community.
Yeah, we watched that last time we streamed as well. And I was like, oh, that's kind of very interesting. Didn't take any questions. And it was also up there for 3 minutes going, yeah, we're going to indict Trump. And that's great. Shout out to the CIA. Okay, deuces. Bye.
This is a CIA indictment. This is an intelligence community indictment. This is a deep state indictment. Not only meant to take out Trump and interfere in the 2024 election, not only to deny us, the American people, the right to pick our own president, but the right of us, the American people, to know the secrets of our government when our elected president decides to share them with us. That's what Patrick Henry said long ago. If you allow too many secrets, you will destroy government. You will destroy liberty. You will empower tyranny. That's why the Snowden reader book is behind. That's what Julian Assange's argument has been for several decades. He said the great danger to liberty in the world are the secrets kept by the elites in the deep state apparatus and intelligence communities and military-industrial complexes. And now they're saying Trump. I mean, let's get the backstory here. The backstory is General Milley lied about him trying to trick Trump into going into war in Iran. And Trump stopped him. And then Milley went around lying to people, including Bob Woodward, saying that he stopped Trump from doing what Trump stopped Milley from doing.
Oh, no.
And so all Trump did says, I got documents, and he's using language so that they sound authoritative and impressive and all the rest.
Oh,
it has no legal bearing in a criminal context whatsoever, because again, these are his documents. He can do what he wants. When he left with them, they became his. How do we know that? Because a federal district court judge in the District of Columbia already established it a decade ago. Bill Clinton took tapes that had national security information on those tapes, had classified information on those tapes. He stuck them in his sock drawer. He refused to give them to the government, refused to give them to the archives, refused to consider them government records. He had made no formal designation of them as declassified. He hadn't gone through imagine these people are citing an executive order. This comes from the president. The idea the president can somehow bind the president doesn't even make any sense. That binds everybody but the president, because constitutionally that's the way it has to be. And so here, we can look at Clinton. Clinton didn't declassify anything in there. Clinton didn't go through any formalized process.
Yeah, but Clinton was like really poor when he left the White House, right? Isn't that how the story goes, the myth goes? And then all of a sudden, oh, look at all of these millions of dollars that we hoodwinked out of Haiti. But also, probably my favorite story, and one that I think everybody's heard at this point in time, when the Clintons were leaving the White House and W was coming in for his two ill-fated fucking neocon-laden terms, but they took all of the W's. Bill and Hillary took all of the W's out of every keyboard that was there. I don't know if that's myth, but that's one of my favorite stories.
Clinton didn't formally declare them his personal records. Clinton just took them, just like Trump did. And what did the federal district court say? It said under Article 2, under the Presidential Records Act, that is a decision solely for the president to make. The mere act of taking them made them his personal records, made them not public records, not national security records, not classified records, not records that belonged in the archives, and records that no one could compel him to even turn over. And so now Trump has clearly got a lot of bad legal advice throughout this entire process, because they should have fought this from day one. These are Trump's records, but they're indicting Trump over him keeping his own records, which are constitutionally his own records, statutorily his own records, and under existing the only legal precedent that exists, the Clinton case, his own records.
Now, if they're his records, do I understand then that they would be his records to take, but not necessarily his records to disclose to the public?
Oh, yeah, he can disclose whatever he wants. And that's always been the case, because think about if it's otherwise. If it's otherwise, the deep state can keep secrets that the elected president can't tell the American people. We no longer have a constitutional democracy if this case is upheld.
But the rebuttal to that would be that once the president is out, while he's president, he can declassify whatever he wants. Once he's out, even if he takes them as his own personal property, he's lost the declassification privilege or power.
It's already automatically declassified by the fact that he took them. They're his personal records.
That's
and the idea that classification can exist independent of the president, who the records were created during his administration or while he was president, he had access to them, would mean that you have these super secret documents that the president has to formally go through a specialized process to make public, or they're forever secret. It empowers the deep state over the president. That cannot happen. These are things he can do whatever he wants, anytime he wants.
Second question is, this is an argument people are raising. He did go through something of a formal declassification process with respect to other documents. He didn't do it now.
Because that allowed other people to disclose those documents, other than him. In other words, the whole declassification is allows people other than the president to provide information. Because it's important to remember, all this is for the benefit of the president. So that it's for the benefit of the president, so he can do whatever he wants with it. You could think.
Okay, that's very important to parse out. Like, I haven't heard that argument so far. Probably glossed over that when I was listening, but interesting. Okay, so yeah, obviously it makes sense that the commander-in-chief can go ahead and take a look at everything regarding national security without having to go through clearance or anything like that. Totally fucking makes sense. But then, okay, so yeah, going through the formalized. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Think of it as he can unilaterally waive it anytime he wants. Yeah. Those classification provisions are only meant so that other people can't disclose the documents without his authority or approval, not whether he can disclose those documents.
Okay, that's something just clicked in my head there. Let me ask you this question, Robert. Are there not laws that pertain to certain documents that even the President of the United States would be lawfully prohibited from disclosing, retaining?
Because that would be a restraint on the executive power under Article 2.
So
that's Congress. The way to think of it is this.
Okay, so that kind of diffuses the argument that, okay, even if the document itself's been declassified, if there are any extemporaneous circumstances that would lead to other classified information being released, yeah, okay, Article 2 of the Constitution, where the executive power is, it's the executive power clause. I'm not entirely sure about all the verbiage that's in there, but okay. Yeah, that makes sense. The executive power has the executive power over the executive power, right? So,
Congress restricting anything in Article 2. Is it restricting the power of the executive? If it is, it's unconstitutional.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. What Congress can say, we'll only give you money for A, B, C, and D. But what Congress can't do, and Congress can subpoena to oversee what the agencies are up to. But what Congress can't do is restrain the executive branch from its executive duties. That it can't do.
I could think of a hypothetical where if the president doesn't declassify something formally or announce it or whatever the process would be while president, what he could then do is potentially take damning information as relates to the next president, right? Once the next president's elected, and then use that as blackmail material. Say, I'll make it public unless you do my bidding for me.
Oh, and once he's done that, LBJ actually explicitly did that.
Oh shit.
LBJ did that to members of Congress and did it to the Nixon administration. Said if you blame me for certain things, I'll do. So that's the consequence, because we're taking trade-offs. Do we give the power to the elected executive president, or do we give the power to some nameless bureaucracy? And what consequences flow from that? He gets, once a man is elected president, man or woman is elected president, they get access to all of our secrets, and they get to do whatever they want. And we take that trade-off because we want an elected official with access to our secrets. We don't want a secret government that's independent of any elected official.
True.
We'll take the trade-offs that maybe this elected president will go and do something terrible with these secrets over a secret branch of government that is allowed to keep secrets from the elected people, elected representatives of the American people.
All right. Now, when you did the breakdown on vivabarneslaw.locals, before the indictment, you weren't sure if it was going to be in Florida. It was a grand jury convened in Washington, but they chose Florida. Is it in fact going to be in Florida?
Yes, it's assigned to the same judge who has already expressed skepticism about the case. So the jury pool is the Southern District. The case is the Southern District of Florida, Palm Beach Division, I believe.
Ooh, that's not far. That's not far from where I live, Robert.
That's where he's appearing on Tuesday.
And I'm not in Florida right now for this. I might have to use this as an excuse to go back to Florida soon. I'm not even going to. I'm going to be in Arizona next week, but so it is in Florida.
Yes, I mean, sometimes they do some of the original appearances in Miami, but the case basically will be the jury pool will be Palm Beach and the surrounding counties, basically evenly split between Trump and Biden in 2020. Though trending more Trump in 2024. So the jury pool looks like pretty close to an American-style jury pool. The judge is a Trump appointee who's already expressed skepticism over the case. The 11th Circuit.
Just stop you there. A Trump appointee would in theory, he not have to recuse himself?
Heard that one brought up a multitude of times. Oh, it's a Trump appointee. Somebody's already ruled on things. I think we even talked about that beforehand. It's like, okay, yeah, you can file. The prosecution, Jack Smith's team, can go ahead and file a motion. Oh, you need to be out of here because you've already, dabbled in all this stuff. But if you're also going to be going for a speedy trial, and if that August 14th date is supposed to be held in any sort of serious fashion, you would kind of want somebody who already knows the situation so that everybody's up to speed on this. So okay, that makes sense.
No. Just like they never accuse themselves from a Clinton case or Obama case.
Well, I didn't say ethics runs both ways, Robert. I'm just saying.
It's because to disqualify, they have to have a personal monetary interest in the case generally, or an extraditional. The fact they were appointed by that person has no impact on any kind of disqualification. Otherwise, Republicans could always disqualify. You'd be stuck, because let's say you have a case of a Republican against a Democrat, right? Then you have no judge because everybody's been appointed by one or the other, right? So so practically speaking, that's also why it goes that way. But now in terms of defenses, he has a bunch of, other than the Article 2 defense and the Presidential Records Act defense I just referenced, which I think goes to all the charges of the entire thing. There are a bunch of other constitutional defenses he has. First up will be the First Amendment selective prosecution, or first up in order of the Constitution after Article 2. I should say, actually, before that would be the impeachment clause, which I previously articulated the argument for as concerns New York. It would apply maybe even more strongly in the federal context. And again, my argument is rather simple. We have a provision that says when an ex-president can be indicted. It's right in the Constitution. It says after impeachment by the House and after conviction in the Senate, and after removal, so he's an ex-president by definition, then he can be indicted. My view is that has to be read exclusively that process, or otherwise it makes no sense that it's even there. Why is that even there if it doesn't apply to ex-presidents? Not only that, we know impeachment can be done of an ex-president because they did it to Trump. They did his conviction trial hearing after he was no longer president of the United States.
Oh, yeah, right.
So, so the first argument would be Article 2, Presidential Records Act, trumps the National Security Espionage Act laws, and should all be the entire indictment dismissed on those grounds. Second, the indictment should be dismissed because he has not been impeached or convicted on these charges. He's never been convicted at all. As you mentioned, he's been acquitted twice, and some of these charges were implicitly referenced in that to some degree. So on those grounds, there should be dismissal to enforce the impeachment clause. Third ground for dismissal is the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, but it will have a bifurcated basis. One is selective prosecution under the First Amendment. You have a right of free speech, a right of free assembly, a right of free expression, a right of freedom of press, a right to petition your government. All of these rights have been interpreted to mean right to access the ballot, right to circulate petitions to get on the ballot. By definition, it should mean a right to run for office, president, and it has been interpreted that way in a wide range of contexts.
So this is the argument that anybody could raise if there's a criminal charge or a criminal investigation into somebody running in an election right now. So you have the First Amendment right for freedom of assembly, and then you can also extrapolate that out to be in a voting context. It's very interesting. Okay. I'm sure that's probably among constitutional scholars, or at least constitutional lawyers, that's probably something that's thought about a lot. But novel idea.
And so consequently, my view is that we should read the First Amendment to prohibit one administration from indicting their leading opponent in the next administration. So now this has one danger. The one danger is that by declaring yourself for president, while you're president, no criminal indictment could go forward. No criminal case could go forward. But that is a very small downside risk. The number of people who have qualified to get on enough ballots to be elected president is less than 100 over American history over hundreds of years.
It's also extremely temporally limited in that it would only postpone or hold off an indictment until there's a successful or unsuccessful bid.
Correct, exactly. So my view is the First Amendment should be interpreted under the Selective Prosecution Clause to be expanded to prohibit something that has been our custom and protocol throughout American history, which is we do not indict the leading opponent of our campaign. We don't allow one administration to indict the leading opponent of their reelection. And it should be interpreted to provide for that during the election season, provided with the only proviso that they be qualified to be on the ballot. And by the way, for those people that ask, being indicted does not allow any state to take someone off the ballot. You can't do that in the presidential race. I've litigated this question in a wide range of contexts over 25 years. You can't do it. So that's well-established law. That's why even James Comey is saying he can get elected from a prison cell. Eugene V. Debs was on a bunch of ballots, even though he was in a prison cell in 1920, after he had a successful prior presidential campaign of 1912. Successful since he got more votes than any third party of that type socialist ever. So there's no question he can. But I would argue that merely indicting him is an attempt to interfere in the 2024 election, and then constitutionally to protect the integrity of our elections, that we have to not allow any indictment case to move forward until the election is resolved or done. So that there's no negative adverse impact on the election from the fact of indictment. The other selective prosecution part is what everybody has mentioned, which is the discriminatory, disparate, two-tiered system of justice. The First Amendment prohibits that. First Amendment prohibits something called selective prosecution. You can't indict someone in order to suppress or punish their speech, their activity, their expression, their association, their being a candidate for office, etc. Clearly, that is the case here because we go all the way back. Well, as I pointed out, if a president having personal custody and possession of information that concerns national security is a crime. And by the way, that is what this indictment alleges.
Indict all of them. Clinton.
All of them would have to be. Yeah. Jimmy Carter would have to be indicted. Everybody would, because
you'd have to exhume presidents in order to charge everybody if there's equal distribution of these charges. Because, basically what happened, and you've seen probably from those pictures, and I know that I used them in the previous live stream as well. Oh, Trump was using his bathroom and he was using the ballroom to store documents. Yeah, when he left the White House, he took everything that belonged to him, thinking that everything was declassified because it was his documents. So, you could run through the Obama house, any one of his multiple houses on Martha's Vineyard. Okay, you can go ahead and take a look at those ones. I'm sure that you'll probably find some violations there. Clinton, oh yeah, definitely 1,000%. Christ Almighty, if the old lady decided to, bust open a server, let alone what else is going to be there is. And then, Barnes also pointed out a couple of tapes in there as well. But going all the way back in the cut, like everybody's old historical homes, I'm sure you could take a look at something, even from like a Reagan museum or some shit like that. And it's like, did he actually formally declassify that? I don't know, man. You better throw Nancy in chains. Like, just, it's obviously selective prosecution, but something good that'll be brought in front of the judge, obviously. All of these different arguments for dismissal, they'll be brought up at some point in time, or at least considered by the court.
Every single one of them has personal custody and possession right now of information that concerns national security. That's how absurd Jack Smith, who has a long history of pursuing ridiculous legal theories, like he did against John Edwards, like he did against the former governor of Virginia, like he's done in other cases, where he's been repeatedly rejected by judges and juries alike for the absurdity of his legal theories. Here he is proposing that the national security laws trump the presidential record laws, that the Congress has constitutional authority to criminally punish the executive branch for doing the executive branch's constitutional duties. Two utterly absurd propositions that he has made without any precedent whatsoever. The only precedent directly refuting and rebutting him, even from a liberal judge, Amy Berman Jackson of the District of Columbia. But then we have the practical precedent and the custom and tradition, which is that presidents all have national security information in every one of their presidential libraries as we speak. Not only that, they have it in their personal custody, like Clinton did. Clinton was recording conversations with an author where he was discussing national security information and classified information on those tapes. That's why he kept the tapes. He kept them in his sock drawer. In the case of Barack Obama, he had a bunch of national security information in an abandoned storage locker that was all that anybody could have accessed if they hadn't, knew where it was. Probably more than a few did. And he refused, by the way, to return it to National Archives for almost a year.
And Joe Biden had a garage full of documents. Come on now.
Biden had stuff in his garage next to his Corvette. So abandoned storage lockers, your sock drawer, and your Corvette in your car garage. And Trump has it in a secured location in one of the most secured places on the planet after he had become president, which is Mar-a-Lago. And he's the one you're going to indict. And that's not selective prosecution. If that isn't selective prosecution, then there is no selective prosecution limitation anymore. So that is additional First Amendment grounds to dismiss the indictment. So you've already got 4 different constitutional grounds, but it doesn't stop there. Because then you've got the ludicrous nature of the search warrant. You've got the search warrant was too broad. The search warrant made false statements of fact. And then so you have procurement of the search warrant in violation of probable cause because of material misrepresentations in it. Then you have the execution of the search warrant where they failed to properly present it in a timely manner, where they seized information that by their own admission was outside the permissible scope of the search warrant.
This is probably one of the weaker arguments, but it's still worthy of bringing up.
And they seized it anyway? And they haven't even identified what classified information was actually relevant to the indictment because there's no classification-based indictment allegation present in the case, as people pointed out. So you have problems in the execution of the search warrant. So you have this big poison tree at the center of their entire case that poisoned the rest of it. That's independent grounds for dismissal under the Fourth Amendment. Then you have a unique Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendment grounds to dismiss because, as you note, there's a bunch of their entire cases based on attorney-client communications. This is a deliberate breach of attorney-client privilege. How did they get it? They got it by a corrupt judge in D.C. who wasn't even supposed to be presiding over the case, given that it was in Florida.
No, I want people to appreciate that a lawyer flipping is now.
Yo, if I had the Don DeMarco, I would definitely be hitting that because that was a clinic right there. We'll listen to a little bit more.
Disclosing solicitor-client privilege documents and their notes on their meetings with their own client. Like, I didn't stress that. I was going to do a vlog breaking this down, but then, the poo-poo hit the fan in Canada. The notes where the lawyer says he made a plucking noise. I mean, this is to the core of solicitor-client privilege documents, unless I'm mistaken, Robert.
No, this is all clear. This undisputed attorney-client privilege communications. Their entire intent case goes from breaching attorney-client privilege. And the problem, and the only reason why the court allowed it to go forward was because they brought that part of the case in D.C. And I'll get into it in a second. There's problems now because they've admitted the whole case belonged in Florida all along. Why did they go to D.C.? Because a D.C. chief judge presiding over the grand jury hates Donald Trump and ruled that they could breach attorney-client privilege to the extent that what they exposed was crime. But they didn't expose that. Because, again, once you understand, this is where Article 2 defense bridges into the attorney-client defense. Which is that if none of this was criminal, then they couldn't breach attorney-client privilege in the first place. So that's how, and so even if they say, well, we'll only set aside some of the charges on Article 2 grounds, not the obstruction-related charges, because the attorney-client privilege breach was key to all the charges in the case, and because the basis of it was ignoring Article 2, ignoring the Presidential Records Act application, that means that if that judge decision was wrong, then that means that attorney-client privilege could have never been breached, and that means the entire case has to be thrown out, because attorney-client privilege is also enforced through the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments, though uniquely here has Article 2 ramifications. So on a little side note, one, all these lawyers were pussies. These lawyers should be our disgrace. I said some of these
fucking faggots.
Lawyers were a disgrace. They were completely a disgrace. Any lawyer worth his salt, first of all, don't go around taking notes against your client. They have no business doing that whatsoever. I mean, are you that dumb? Are you that lazy? Are you that incompetent? Evan Corcoran and these losers? These are the people that they should be seeking to this bar, not Jeffrey Clark. And then you're such a wuss. You're so weak. You're so pitiful. You're so sorry. You go, oh, okay, judge, I'll just come in and rat out my client. Sit in jail. Make him take it to the U.S. Supreme Court. Make him put you in prison. Expose these corrupt frauds of partisan judges for what they are. They're trying to destroy the Constitution of America. Stand up for something.
I actually feel bad for having tried to interrupt you there, Robert. Do we even know that the notes were contemporaneous, that they're authentic, that they were taken at the time? Or
don't know any of that. And they should have been taking notes. They should have testified. They should have said, screw you. Well, you got to give me immunity. Say, okay, give me immunity. Fine. I'm still not going to testify. Put me in jail. Put me in jail. See, put the president's lawyer in prison because you want to breach attorney-client privilege. Put that on the front page of the news for the next 6 months. Take that up to the United States Supreme Court. And even then, you can keep me in prison. See how that's going to work for you long term.
Yeah, that's one of the most ironclad unions that cannot be broken. Attorney-client privilege is theoretically absolute, but I guess we're testing those boundaries in this case right here, just like so many other things.
Most of the time, they don't have the guts to do it, by the way, because they know how it will politically backfire on them. But these all lawyers folded quicker than a cheap tent. They lifted up their legs faster than the cheapest whore in a whorehouse. That's how terrible these...
Kamala Harris just down terrible right now.
These lawyers were. They're a disgrace. They're a disgrace. And, I've been telling people like Steve Bannon and the rest of them, quit hiring all these white-collar wusses. These are people that do not know how to handle political cases, don't have guts or balls to defend anybody in a political case. You got the Constitution on the line, have some guts. I mean, that's why I respect the Jerry Spencers of the world. That's why I respect the old school guys that would be held in contempt themselves by a federal court, like the lawyer defending the Chicago 7, risking 15 years in federal prison because he stood up for something. When he took his oath, he meant it. These lawyers, sadly, pitifully did not. But that's just, and part of that's on Trump. Quit looking for white shoe fancy lawyers. Quit looking for too cheap lawyers. Don't look for lawyers so far outside the system they don't know what inside the system looks like.
Rudy Giuliani also punching air right now.
Plenty of quality, skilled lawyers, and continue to use their advice rather than a lot of this other with good lawyers. Trump's never here, even with the deep state being as corrupt as they are. Now, that still doesn't end the grounds to dismiss.
Hold on, Robert.
But wait, there's more.
All right, Robert, what? I'm sorry.
There is indeed. I mean, it just keeps going on and on and on. This may be the most unconstitutional case ever brought. Not only is it the most dangerous case to constitutional liberty in American history, it is a case that is riddled with constitutional error and defect. So the next one is, here's what you can't do. I heard Napolitano's got to go back to law school. I heard Napolitano suggest that you could have one grand jury to screen and another grand jury to indict. No, you...
It's a fucking Janet Napolitano. Gross. Ugh.
Can't. The grand jury is limited to the same venue provisions as the trial provisions are limited to. You can't go fishing for which grand jury might indict somebody in another venue. So what should have happened here
Oh, that's the bitch who presided over Ruby Ridge. I think I got that right.
from the get-go is that the only grand jury formed should have been in the Southern District of Florida. But they didn't want the U.S. Attorney's Office from the Southern District of Florida to have access to the case. They didn't want a grand jury in the Southern District of Florida that might go AWOL having control of the case. And most importantly, they didn't want Judge Cannon or a judge like that presiding over things like attorney-client privilege breach concerning the grand jury subpoenas in the case. So what they did is they misused and abused a grand jury that did not have venue over the case in order to manipulate judicial selection, which is a violation of the grand jury clause, a violation of the venue clause, a violation of due process. So you have Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights to bring to dismiss the indictment just for the abuse of the grand jury process. So you've got Article 2, you got the Presidential Records Act, you've got the First Amendment on two different grounds, you have the Fourth Amendment, now you have the Fifth, Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendment on attorney-client privilege, you have the Fifth and Sixth Amendment on issues of grand jury abuse, but you're not finished then because they...
OKC bombing. Damn it. Close. Sorry, Rob. I just, my tism ended up acting up.
Use the Espionage Act. And as the ACLU and they used to argue, they'll probably go and hide now, the Espionage Act has always been unconstitutional, just like the Sedition Acts have been unconstitutional. It's time to challenge them, and this is a great statute to challenge them. There is no greater absurd application of the Espionage Act than to apply it to the elected president of the United States, who by definition cannot commit espionage because he is the elected president of the United States. He can't spy against himself. He can't disclose it. He can't hide secrets from himself. None of this can. It shows you how this whole case is: does the deep state run America, or does the elected, constitutionally appointed president run America? Run the executive branch. And so, on those grounds, they can also seek dismissal. But that's not all. There's many of these statutes that are being brought on grounds of void for vagueness. Whether it's the interpretation of national security information, its application of the presidential records of the president in general, the use of the obstruction statutes. The things he's interpreting as obstruction, plucks are obstruction, saying I don't know is obstruction, like he's prosecuting one of Trump's secure bodyguards because he said he didn't know. Hillary Clinton said it how many times? 38, 65, 94? When was she prosecuted? This makes a complete crock of the entire constitutional system of governance and the Department of Justice being anything other than the Department of Injustice.
Well, in fairness to them, Robert, they got away with it with Michael Flynn, where when everybody says he made false statements to the FBI in the context of an investigation, his statements that they said were false were equivocated statements. He says, I'm not sure, I can't quite remember.
Oh, you know who helped prosecute Michael Flynn? Oh, Jordan Peterson's favorite presidential candidate right now. If you don't know, that's fine. That's your brain on Daily Wire, I guess.
To have the transcript, and they still got him on it, and so they learned the right lesson from a weaponized judicial system.
But that's still not all. So not only do you have void for vagueness, Fifth Amendment challenge is unique here to the espionage and obstruction laws being applied to the president concerning what is everyone's agreed disputes about the law. If lawyers can't agree on the law, how in the world are you going to put the president in prison for not understanding it, supposedly? So under their interpretation. But you have government misconduct. So the right to due process of law includes that the government not engage in malfeasance or misconduct in their prosecution. Here you have extraordinary evidence of misconduct, and no surprise, because Jack Smith and two of his lead prosecutors have previously been judicially found to have engaged in systematic and systemic misconduct and ethical and professional breaches of people's constitutional rights. How do they still have a job? How are they still in the Justice Department? They're running around the D.C. bar after Jeffrey Clark for merely exposing the election fraud that took place in 2020, trying to disbar him in the District of Columbia, while these lawyers who have been judicially found to engage in misconduct are given the power to indict a president of the United States and the leading candidate for president in 2024. And what were some of the things some of these lawyers were doing? They were telling lawyers that if they wanted to be appointed a judge under the Biden administration, they better force their client to flip against their client's own interests. This is bribery and extortion and intimidation and obstruction by the U.S. attorneys bringing cases for so-called obstruction. So you've got extraordinary government misconduct that took place throughout these proceedings. And you have another question. The special counsel statute itself. Is it constitutional under these circumstances? That now will be addressed, because if it's not, then the entire indictment was brought by a prosecutor who didn't have the authority to do it. And by the way, that too has been previously litigated and found you have to dismiss in those cases. So that's just the constitutional problems with the case. Doesn't get into the statutory problems in the case. Doesn't get into the evidentiary problems in the case. Doesn't get into what we don't even know yet about misconduct in front of the grand jury, misconduct with other witnesses that is probably going to be disclosed and discovered in the case. It doesn't get to the very robust intent defense Trump has in front of a jury, which at this point will have at least a third of the jury be pro-Trump jurors. Good luck trying to convict Trump in that instance when the whole world, 80%, according to a poll this weekend, see this case as entirely political, including many Democrats think the case is political. And there's probably no jurisdiction in America more cognizant of politically BS cases and rebelling against them than the Southern District of Florida. Because you got a bunch of Cubans and Venezuelans that know and Haitians that know what a show trial looks like, and they want nothing to do with it and refuse to ratify it.
Fucking Christ, man. I'll let him finish his sentence, and then that'll be good.
So the president has unique, robust defenses constitutionally, factually, and legally in this case that are extraordinary for any defendant to have.
Robert.
Fucking Christ, man. What a clinic right there. Holy shit. If you guys want to listen to that in full, in totality, I would definitely recommend it as well. And like I was talking with George on the Rumble chat side, it's like Barnes is such a fire hose of information that you kind of have to listen to him multiple times in order to get everything in totality, because That dude knows a lot about a lot. Holy fuck. So, yeah, like I said before we started to watch this little clip right here, I seen a lot of people chime in on this Trump situation, and nobody was really providing anything other than just the statist line. So, of course, the first person that came to mind was Barnes. He had an analysis of it. I thought that it was very, very good. And you know what? I wanted to share it with you guys. So that's all I got for you this evening. Thanks for turning out for this incredibly impromptu, last minute, late in the day stream. But yeah, we'll be back on schedule. And like I said before, on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday, by the way, if I can find a good quality copy of the Brett Baer Trump sit-down interview, we'll probably do that. Something political. Still want to keep the streams of the political variety, and for the foreseeable future, all of the videos are going to be a lot more, not pop culture-y, but I guess that's probably a good catch-all term at this point in time. All that fucking stupid-ass pride shit and, you know, whatever other fucking faggotry that's going to be out there. We'll just keep it over on that side, so... Oh, excuse me, not to mix everything up. So, yeah, no, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys turning out on this one. But yeah, I'm still not exactly back up to 100%. But yeah, couldn't go more than a full week. Yeah, without touching base with you guys. So, felt bad enough missing all of those streams, so I just wanted to play catch up with this one. So hopefully you enjoyed that. We covered quite a few topics, actually. Tate situation, Hunter Biden situation, and then Trump situation as well. So at least when it comes to the illegal stuff that's out there, you guys will be up to date and, yeah, at least be armed with some arguments for, you know, the side that doesn't get equal and opposite, or at least equal representation. But I'm just babbling at this point in time and a little bit tired and got to go to the washroom. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Thanks again for everybody. I've seen George in here. I've seen Ed in here. Mike, I seen you on the Rumble side. Who else? I forgot to give a roll call on this one. So Lord Stay Frosty. Long Reach one. Shout out to you guys. Of course, Meme. Steve McGee. Manu was in here as well. A couple of other guys seen in here as well. Masucci. Shout out to you, man. I think I've seen your name in here before, but if it's your first time, thanks for that. Appreciate it. And, yeah, George Meadows and Meme, of course. Thanks, guys, for turning out for this one. So no more false starts, no more false stops. We out of here until tomorrow. Got some fun videos that are going to be coming out. Cut them before going live on this anyway. So enjoy that. A couple of pulp culture ones, and then also some interesting Pentagon leaks. I'll leave it at that. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.